I feel like with how it's been going lately, I've had a lot of clients just in the last 12 months. And given I've been doing this for 5 years, I've never heard this sentence more than I have lately. And it's the clients telling me, like, they're giving me a reference photo, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that's a little bit more on the ombre side, or maybe it's a powder, but it's really soft in the beginning. But they look at the ombre and they say, I think it looks gorgeous, but I'm afraid that 5 years from now, that's just going to be a trend that's gone and it's stuck. And I'm going to have to come back in and get that blended out in the front and make it a little bit darker.
Yeah.
And I've had more people concerned about that more than ever. So I'm curious to think of what your opinion is on that.
Well, an ombre brow is easy to turn into more of a classic like powder brow with no ombre effect. So, yeah, no, we're getting more requests too for less ombre look. We don't really have people come in requesting pixels, not too many, like actually requesting actual pixels.
Yeah,
but we certainly do have people coming in wanting ombre brows. But look, Ren, everything's a trend.
Yeah.
Everything's a trend. I've been in this industry 22 years and everything's a trend. And skinny brows are coming back. You watch. They are coming back. I see them being done more and more and more in the industry. Maybe it's because Pamela Anderson has a new new reality show on TV. I don't know. But no, skinnier brows are coming back and they're harder to do. The higher saturation look has never gone away. Yeah. I think it's taken a back seat to the lower saturation look and the ombre look, but the classic powder brow will never ever go away. It's classic. It will always be around. So I think a day will come where and it's inevitable, right? Because trends are that. They're trends. They're not permanent. And the trends are ever changing.
Yeah.
I love an ombre brow. I like the hair stroke brow. I like the combo brow. I like the classic brow. I like a high saturation brow. I love it all as long as it's done skillfully and it was put on the right person. Like I wouldn't want to see like an 80-year-old with an ombre Instagram brow. I think that would look look funny.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure the style suits the person as well, because there's lots of different styles.
Yeah.
And but like you said, there's this like epidemic right now where the new generation of artists, they're being taught one way and they're coming in the industry and that's the only way they know how to approach a brow, with a smaller needle, whip shading, low saturation, ombre. That's all they know how to do. Yeah. Do you know? And I think some of them have been misled. I want to use the word brainwashed to believe that's the gold standard. And anything outside of that look is dated. It not as attractive, shouldn't be done, not worthy. And that's just not true. That's just not true. Do you know?
Everything has a place in this industry. And like I was saying earlier, just as long as you're doing it clean, your drawing is impeccable. You trust yourself to execute that on the client. Every needle, every movement, and every style has a place, and it's never going to go away.
Right.
And I mean, people need to think, some clients are going to maybe want medium saturation, but they have that skin where it's required that you have to do it more high saturation for them to heal that way. Yeah. Because they may have skin that's going to heal at maybe 60%, they're going to lose 60% of color and they need to have that happen. Yeah. Right. So what happens to that client? Okay, well, let's think that they have maybe $150 for a touch up, right? Why do they need 3 more touch-ups that year at $150? Because we're stuck on one movement and maybe just a couple of needles and we want it to be all nice and airy. That's not fair financially to the client. It's not fair to the client's skin. No, I'm going to go and pull out an 8, or even if I'm doing lips at high saturation, I'm going to pull out a 14 and I'm going to get that thing done. Yeah. I mean, that's what makes us more artists. That's what has us understand our tools and what's better for the skin, because this has become a one size fits all industry, especially on social media.
Well, that's what makes us, remember on a podcast, you and I were talking about artist or technician.
Yes.
Right. And in the end, and both are respectable terms, like being referred to as one or the other doesn't bother me at all, you know. But then I said, but I think of myself as an artist rather than a technician.
Yeah.
Well, there's a gal that I have known for a long time, Rhonda Vacante. Hey, Rhonda. But she watches our podcasts, and she commented on that podcast. We read all the comments.
Yeah.
And she made such a good point.
Was she the one that said, I'm a technician in a way that I know how to set it up, but I'm an artist?
Yeah, she's both.
Yeah.
And I went, Rhonda, girl, you just hit it, man. I didn't even really think about that. So I love the feedback in the comments, especially when they're positive like that, right? Mm-hmm. Because Rhonda listened to that particular episode, and she put that comment, and the comment was so gracefully written, right?
Right.
Yes. I had an epiphany. I'm like, she's right. I am both an artist and a technician. And to be the very best at procedural work and in this industry, you need to be both.
Right.
You need to be artistic and you need to think technically. Right. Yeah. And so when it comes to, like what you said, picking the right needle and movement for the skin type in order to get the result that client is paying you for in as least session as or a reasonable amount of sessions, we have to think technically, strategically, and technically. Mm-hmm. And that's what so many artists, the new generation, they're missing out on. They're not able to think technically or strategically, right? Because they're stuck on this ideal of what a brow should look like when it leaves the studio.
Right.
And I think that's hurting them. I think it's hurting them. Mm-hmm. And I think it's restricting them. And I want more for them. Like, you know, I don't talk about this to push my style or my forte. Look, when we launched Loaded, I did like 20 eyebrows, single needle, girl. You don't even know. Me and Michonne. Right. Yeah. And I spent about 3 months doing every single brow, single needle whip shading because we were testing Loaded, which was an organic line. And I had a blast doing it, but that just doesn't seem to be the type of clientele and brow request that I get most often.
Right.
You know? Yeah. I tend to get classic powder brow or a little bit more bolder, striking. That's just what I attract. Mm-hmm. You get a lot of clients that want ombre and low saturation. You get pretty much of a mixed bag. Mm-hmm. But no, I had a ball with it. So so I don't talk about this just to push my style, and convince everybody, learn big needles, learn these movements that really pack pigment and learn these ways because this is how I do it. No, I encourage young artists to step out of their comfort zone and go learn these bigger needles, the circular and oval movements and these techniques so they can be a well-rounded artist. So they can give their clients what their clients are asking for in a reasonable amount of sessions, 1 to 2 sessions. Yeah. Yeah. That's why it hurt. I don't know. I would be so bored if all I used was one needle, one movement, and it just did one style. I love doing lots of different styles and using different needles and stuff. Don't you?
Yeah. No, I really do. I can't think about it. It would be a very boring time for me. And everybody's different. Maybe that's that one person's cup of tea. They've spent 20 years completely doing that, but
and some people do. Yeah, some people do, and that's just their that's just the way they roll. And And the way other people roll is super versatile. They like getting on different needles, and using different techniques.